What's going on, Titans fans? It's Mitchell Renz from Chat Sports, and coming up here on today's show, we're going to be looking at 5 Titans trade targets because June 1st, right around the corner, and a lot of teams, they like to be making moves. Why? You get some extra money, there's certain cuts that happen, and it's just that time of the year where people get a little bit more aggressive. So in terms of an out-season lookout for the Tennessee Titans, Jon Robinson, I think that he was more than willing to show that, hey, if I got to make a deal during the draft, I'm not afraid to do it, and he absolutely did that. You could potentially look to add another piece before the season starts. However, with only $3.22 million left, or at your current salary cap space, you might not be able to go out and make any big splash moves, but I also know if there's a certain player, which we do have one guy on our list who does carry a little bit of a hefty price tag, you can make money move around because, let's face it, the NFL salary cap, it happens every single year. So let me know, y'all, name a player that you believe the Tennessee Titans should go out and trade for. And the reason why some of the names that are going to come up on our list is because there's been trade rumors around them. Maybe the team went ahead and they drafted somebody who could potentially be a replacement or signed a certain player. So before I go ahead and give you my 5 names, name a player the Titans should trade for. The first name coming up here is N'Keal Harry, and Harry has always been an interesting prospect to me. Drafted in the first round, 2019, out of Arizona State. He's big, he's long. I thought he was going to be a lot more athletic, but here's the thing, okay? The issue is Harry never has gotten, I think, a good opportunity with New England because you can say what you want about that franchise. They have really struggled adding wide receiver talent. And this offseason, they went ahead and they traded for Devontae Parker. So essentially, N'Keal Harry's the 5th receiver. You could probably buy low on him right now. And when you talk about the fact that Harry, again, never had a legit shot, he might be a good fit with Ryan Tannehill. So this isn't the same wide receiver room that Tennessee had last season. It's definitely a lot different. You got a whole bunch of new faces. No A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones. Yes, I like Robert Woods. Yes, I like Treylon Burks. But you can't have enough red zone options. And essentially, I think that Harry could be that red zone option. Now, I do like Racey McMath. I like Dez Fitzpatrick. Those are good players. Kyle Phillips, I think, is definitely a sleeper name to keep in mind as well. And you're like, well, why am I going to go ahead and trade for a dude who in his 3 years of his entire career has 57 catches, 598 yards, 4 touchdowns? My mom loves to yard sale shop. Why? It's cheap. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and do it here. If you have the money and if you're feeling that you need another wide receiver, you're only going to owe N'Keal $1.87 million. Is he ever going to live up to that first-round hype? No, probably not. But you also traded for Julio Jones last offseason. Why? You wanted the big athletic receiver. Treylon Burks is big and athletic. There's already been some reports that maybe he's not that dude. I'm going to pump the brakes on a little bit because it's in freaking May, and the same reports came out about Derrick Henry. But I will say this, a $1.87 million, it's something to keep in mind. So what do you think, y'all? What's the biggest team need for the Titans? Like, out of all the needs, offense, defense, maybe that's the position that you should go ahead and trade for. But let producer Jack know biggest need for the Titans. We're going to go with another wide receiver here, and it's Laviska Shenault Jr. And a lot of the reasons that I mentioned for Harry being an outside receiver, I've always been a fan of Laviska Shenault. When he first came out of Colorado, punt returner, kick returner, somebody who I personally thought could do it all. And as a rookie, 79 targets, 58 grabs, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Last season, in an absolute disaster with Urban Meyer, 63 grabs, 619 yards. Yes, Trevor Lawrence needs to go ahead and take that next step. And usually, trading inside the division does not happen, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. But hey, if both sides are like, hey, it helps both of us out because the Titans, they would only owe Laviska $1.31 million, and for Jacksonville, you paid Christian Kirk, a shit ton of money, terrible contract, but you also have extra pieces that you're hoping that you can get involved going into next season. And if you don't plan on using Laviska, who knows? Maybe you go ahead and you can trade for him. So, guys, we are still trying to get more subs here on this channel. So if you haven't already, if you're a diehard Titans fan, take the link that you see below, youtube.com/Titans today. Send it to a friend. Send it to a family member. Tell them to subscribe. Tell them, hey, these guys do a really good job. They keep you up to date news and rumors. And the more subs you get, the more videos you're going to get. It's 100% free. You have literally literally nothing to lose. If you hit the sub button and you don't like the video, guess what you can do? You can unsubscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. However, I think if you're a diehard fan, you're going to love this show. Let's go to the next name on this list. It's Deion Jones, the linebacker out of Atlanta. And earlier, top of the show, I gave names and I said we're going to go cheaper route. There is one name that would end up costing a little bit more money, and that is Jones. And when I look at the linebacking room right now for Tennessee, you got good edge rushers, outside linebackers, Harold Landry, Bud Dupree. I do think Zach Cunningham at one time was a tackling monster, but your inside linebackers are, well, lacking the extra depth and lacking, I'll say, the overall confidence that I would like to have in your middle linebacking group. So this could be a huge piece on your defense. And if he's healthy, if he's able to contribute, he's there. So why would Atlanta want to go ahead and move on from him after a season where he had 137 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 6 PBUs? I actually thought this was one of the better years by Jones, no doubt about it. The reason is because he carries a cap hit of about $20 million for Atlanta. However, if they can trade him, yes, you do end up eating a lot of money, $4 million, but you're also not paying that cap hit. So for Tennessee, you would owe Jones about $9.64 million. Is that a lot of money for a linebacker? Yes. He has 2 years left on his deal. You could essentially move on from him next year. It doesn't cost you anything because he doesn't have any guaranteed money. But for a linebacker who's coming off a really solid year, over 100 tackles, and you have a need at middle linebacker, it is a little bit pricey, but if you really wanted him, you might be able to make a few things move in order to make it a success. So be the GM here, okay? He's the biggest name that's going to be on this list, at least I personally think so, but it's also the most costly one. Type T for trade, type P for pass. Should the Titans go out and trade for Deion Jones? Next name coming on here, I don't know if he's related to Austin, but at the offensive guard, Ben Powers, played last season with the Baltimore Ravens. And if you're the Titans, you need to be able to just pound the rock, be physical, especially on the interior of your offensive line. And one of the biggest weaknesses that Tennessee had last season, let's face it, was the offensive line. Did they deal with a lot of injuries? Yes, absolutely. But Powers could be somebody who you bring in and can just do everything well. He doesn't do anything spectacular. He's not an outstanding run blocker. He's not an outstanding pass blocker, but he's good at both. And having that reliability, having somebody who you can bring in and be good at both, and it only owing him $2.54 million, I think it's reasonable. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that this could be a move out of them all. It's not the sexiest one, but it could make a lot of sense. The final name that we're going to go ahead and bring up here, and some rumors have been circulating around him, is Mike Purcell, the defensive tackle for the Denver Broncos. And Purcell, again, big body. You're trying to add some extra depth on that defensive line, which, again, had some injuries last season. It's simply a depth piece. And when you look at championship rosters obviously have great starters, but they also have good depth. And that's essentially all I'm trying to do. I know I can rely on Jeffrey Simmons. If I could shit out another Jeffrey Simmons, well, hell, I would do it in a heartbeat. Every NFL team would. But guess what? Jeffrey Simmons, they don't grow on trees. And for Tart, I want to see a little bit more out of him. So for Purcell, coming off a career where he's got 57 games played, 138 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks, this is a veteran. This is a depth piece that you could simply add to your team. You owe him $3 million, which I will say might be a slight overpay. You might, instead of going out and giving away a draft capital, paying him $3 million, maybe decide to go ahead and try to get somebody like Ndamukong Suh, who's a free agent. Yes, it's not quite the same video, but definitely something to keep in mind. So sound off one more time. Name a player that the Titans should trade for. We are a interactive YouTube channel. We try to keep you guys up to date. So we're going to go down in the comments, whether it's me, whether it's producer Jack, and we're going to try to see what you guys are thinking. So my Titans trade targets one more time with June 1st quickly approaching. I got N'Keal Harry, wide receiver from the New England Patriots. You're going to owe him about $1.87 million. I say it would cost probably a 6th-round pick in 2023. Laviska Shenault Jr., he's still got 2 years left on his deal. If you could get him for a 5th, a 6th-round pick, personally, I would do it because it seems like Jacksonville's going to move on from him. Deion Jones, yes, it does cost a little bit more money, but he would be an instant starter. Ben Powers, actually, probably also would be a starter for you on your interior line. And then Mike Purcell, simply just a depth piece. So one more time, y'all, before I get out of here, hopefully you enjoy your day. Hopefully you enjoy all the content that we make. So please, take a second and hit that sub button.